Because the days of being able to win only one time a year, well, they're gone. Now you can win year-round just by rocking the stochastic avatar wherever it is you play. And we've added way more prizes and better ones too, just to make all of your wins that much sweeter. Even a custom stochastic Hall of Fame ring and display case to commemorate your most memorable takedowns. And if you're looking for a fresh look on DraftKings or FanDuel, we've created a brand new selection of stochastic avatars to choose from. And all you have to do to get involved is finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, no matter the entry fee, and tweet us your wins at Stochastic Hall of Fame. Yo, we're back. It's been a little bit, but the Hall of Fame is better than ever. Now you can win a lot more stuff, a lot better stuff as well. All you got to do, download the Stochastic profile picture, stochastic.com/HOF. We got 6 beautiful new ones to choose from. Use it wherever it is you play. DraftKings, FanDuel, anywhere. Finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, no matter the entry fee, and tweet us your wins at Stochastic HOF. Maybe include a nice little message in there as well, and you're in, baby. Climbing the ranks with the Stochastic Hall of Fame, and we kick it off with the brand new Ring of Honor. That's right. Any $20,000 or more win gets a custom Stochastic Hall of Fame ring in an engraved display case. It even spins. It's a beauty. And any subscription package of the tier that you've met as well for Sims. Joey Prindle, thank you for the Sims and awesome content. What a night. $60,000 for Joey Prindle in the MLB streets. Our first Ring of Honor recipient. You've got to love it. But we've got 2 of them already, and we just started this new Hall of Fame. Z-Roth, 2, with a $20,000 win in the bat flip. Also took down the mini max for $1,000. You guys get the rings plus the Sims packages. And yes, even though we just started taking submissions 2 weeks ago, we already got someone in the silver. Means he won twice already, qualified twice. It's Dion O'Neill, trusting the process like a 76ers fan. I hear you, brother. 7th time in 4 months and twice in 1 week. 22.91 for Quiet Thunder 06. Although Dion's first one was even bigger. Stochastics earned a member for life, took down the NBA layup with 1 dupe, 6th time in 4 months, $8,700 for Dion. Congrats, brother. First one into the silver. Jake Hari, our own, back to the Oilers show, back to even on Oilers Showdowns, thanks to the great Ryan McLeod. $10,000 for Jake in the NHL streets. John Good, another takedown last night in 2 separate contests using the Stochastic tools. Shout out to the team and all the hard work you guys put into producing the best content. $11,700 plus $1,400 for John Good. 2 huge wins there. And then Micah took down first in the DK Showdown 20 max. NBA playoffs, Celtics versus Indy. 40K entries with Stochastic.com help. Thanks, guys, with a little $1,283 win there for Micah. And our own Sean Geezy, he's going to be in the gold tier by next week with the rate he's played over the last year. Finished 3rd and 4th in the Mega Mini Max last night. Had 6% of lineups in the top 1%. Shout out to Stochastic Sims. As always, congrats to Sean. And LS Dom, Level Spirit Dom, $2,000. Another one. Sims are the GOAT. Yes, they are. Real Spill. Nice return. Thank you, Stochastic, for all the DFS insight. I can finally submit my name to the Hall of Fame with this 2nd place finish. $500 in the solo shot for Real Spill. Next up, Kevin D. That's 2 tourney takedowns for me in 2024. Thanks to your tools, data, and shows. Best in the business. And Tim took down my first large field tourney after using the Sims for 2 months. Couldn't have done it without the Stochastic tools and advice from Greg Ehrenberg on MLB Live Before Lock. And Zay holding hands with Sean Geezy. No surprise. Again, great night. Thanks to the team again. Still haven't got my Stochastic Sims, but it's all love. Just email us at support at stochastic.com. We'll get you those free Sims for the win. And Squatch Biggs. Hey guys, appreciate this opportunity to better hone my DFS skills with this amazing tools you guys offer. Took down a GPP rocking your avatar. Congrats, Squatch. And Matthew Banis, $75 in the showdown at Stochastic Hall of Fame. Man of very few words, but still, it qualifies. Remember, just download the avatar at stochastic.com/HOF. Tweet us your wins at Stochastic Hall of Fame when you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000.
Five on the hands, I think.
What is happening, everybody? It is time for another MLB Live Before Lock. We've had a pitching change today. Emerson Hancock starting in place of Luis Castillo. So that is something that's going to matter. We just got the Dodgers lineup that came out, and Will Smith isn't in it, which is massively problematic for me because I was playing the Dodgers in single entry and that lineup had Will Smith. So everything is going to have to be redone. And as we're doing it, we're going to be walking you guys through the slate. So myself and Eric Lindquist here. If you guys could do us a favor while you're watching, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Shout out to Underdog, who is sponsoring our show today. Eric, my friend, how are you doing?
Doing well, doing well. Didn't have a great morning, split my bets, and then DFS didn't fire a whole lot, so it's not too bad. Played some pick six. That didn't go particularly well. But overall, pretty slow morning, just meetings and such. So excited to break this down and then get to break down a game for tomorrow. Ended up having a smash of a day yesterday, which was fun in the premium Discord for the people. Nice to see Jason Tatum go completely ballistic, but I know we're going to talk MLB. It's a pretty small slate though, when we have an hour. What do you think about the Celtics up 3-0?
I think that they are considerably better than every other team that is in the NBA. And a lot of the talking points that came into the series, which were like, hey, the Celtics haven't played the greatest strength of schedule in the postseason. What's going to happen when they get tested? It seems like the answer is doesn't fucking matter because they're never going to get tested. And they've just steamrolled everybody so far.
Yep. And people can make excuses or talk about, whatever they want. You can only ever play who's in front of you. I don't ever blame a team for playing who's in front of them. The Nuggets, they lost to the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves lost to the Mavericks. And you know what the Mavericks are going to do? They're going to lose to Boston. So no matter which teams you might have looked at as, being top 3, top 5 in the entire NBA, Boston, all they can do is play who's in front of them, and they've annihilated. They had 2 game 2 home losses. Otherwise, they haven't lost a basketball game for over a month now. It is absolutely insane how good they are.
Yeah, and I mean, regular season, they finished the year ranked first overall in offensive efficiency rated for opponent, and it was not particularly close between them and everybody else. And they were second in adjusted defensive efficiency. The only team that was ahead of them was our Minnesota Timberwolves. So, I mean, the Celtics team, they were the best team from day one of the season, and they're the best team at the end of the season. Now, series is 3-0. There's still an off chance that the Mavericks win 4 games in a row. Don't want to put the cart in front of the horse, but it does seem obviously very likely that the Celtics, even with a Kristaps Porzingis being hampered, is still running through the Dallas Mavericks here. So they're the best team. It is what it is.
It is what it is. And Jordan Klein coming in, trying to instigate shit as though he's Sean V. I don't know why you're making this choice, calling Jason Tatum a fraud. Jason Tatum is a beautiful man who was undervalued by everybody in the marketplace. You were able to get 30, like basically where you're going to set his regular season average at if he plays 40 plus minutes in a basketball game. I put 30 plus of 4+3s in a Boston money line like a man, and ended up getting 555 for everybody in Discord. So maybe grow up, Peter Pan, Count Chocula.
Yeah, who's a fraud? Jordan Klein's a fraud.
Jordan Klein is a fraud. I mean, you've been back at work for like a week and you're acting like, oh, I'm so tough. Oh, look at me. Jason Tatum's a fraud. Absolute fraud. What a joke. Oh, okay. Sorry that we can't all be.
Yeah, you missed yesterday. He had to step away from live before lock because some guy came over to clean his pipes out.
Oh, hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah. West Hollywood, but
yeah. By the way, 100. There is nothing I said there that's inaccurate. That is all 100% fact, and Jordan would back it up, and he would also verify that as the truth. But shout out to Chris Williams, who gifted us out 5 YouTube memberships. Chris, as always, we appreciate you there. We also just got the Texas Rangers lineup that came across. Let me see. Was there anything weird in there? I'm just going to have to redo all this anyway, but Rangers, nothing too unexpected in that lineup there from the Rangers, at least. Let's start here by talking about the starting pitchers, Eric. And earlier in the day, I did do a short. What I've been doing is I've been putting up some shorts on the YouTube channel, which is just running sims in the morning and seeing what some core plays are, top pitchers, top stacks, things along those lines. And I was getting to a lot of Luis Castillo earlier, but obviously that is no longer going to be a viable option, considering that he has been scratched in place of Emerson Hancock. But if we do look at the available high-priced starting pitchers for us to be getting to today, and like you said, it's a small slate, so it's not like we are overwhelmed with options or anything like that, but we do have some pretty decent ones in the 9K range. We've got 2 popular pitchers, 1 pitcher that's completely unplayable, and then 1 pitcher that is a possible service as a contrarian option. But At the top, Eric, we got Joe Ryan is $9,500 at home against the Oakland A's. He's 43% owned. And then Garrett Crochet at $9,400. He is 45% owned against the Mariners. Between Joe Ryan and Garrett Crochet, who is your preference of the chalk?
It is Garrett Crochet between the two of them. I think they're both phenomenal options and both guys that I'm going to be getting to quite a bit. So I don't want to have that be said as though I prefer Garrett Crochet by some massive amount, but I have 68% Garrett Crochet. I have 52% Joe Ryan right now. The one thing that just concerns me, and Oakland has been much worse over the last month, no doubt about it. And they're traveling, coming from San Diego over to Minnesota, not the easiest flight, as somebody who's done that many, many a time. I know they fly a little bit nicer than most people, but still a lot of baseball here recently. Didn't have a couple of days off there. Sometimes the Tuesday, Wednesday, no, they're flying in, playing baseball on Thursday, Friday, Saturday here. And Joe Ryan, the only thing that really concerns me is that 10.9% barrel percentage, because the matchup's fantastic. Now, the second highest strikeout rate that you get in baseball against righties. You have a 27.4% K rate here for Joe Ryan, but I think you know this by now. This is still a pitching staff, with the exception of Pablo Lopez, and he didn't even pitch all that well yesterday, that I'm not the highest on. I'm not the highest on our starters top to front. There's cases you can make against just about anybody on our staff outside of Lopez, who, still hasn't necessarily pitched his best at times. And the 182 expected ISO against righties, Joe Ryan's definitely given up some power to righties. You get a couple of lefties that started off, but then, Rooker and Duhar, who has been decent, minus the fact that his expected ISO is well below what anybody thinks it probably is. 356 BABIP, pretty unsustainable. But Soderstrom's been good. Langoliers has been incredible. Like, there's enough power in Oakland's lineup that I still am going to look at Seattle in the best pitcher's park you could possibly run into. And as a guy in Garrett Crochet, who everybody wants to get themselves a piece of him at the trade deadline, I like the Crochet side a little bit more.
I do as well. And the big difference for me is the strikeout rate. Like you mentioned, Joe Ryan is not a poor strikeout pitcher. He's got a good matchup. He's got a strikeout rate in the mid 20% range for the season. Garrett Crochet is a 34.3% strikeout rate, though. So if you get the best Crochet game and you get the best Joe Ryan game, Crochet scores more fantasy points. Now, I do think there's probably a little bit more variance with Crochet. He might not be quite as safe, but, considering the strikeout stuff he has, that should give him a floor of fantasy points. His season has been ridiculous. He's a 3.33 ERA, a 2.31 expected ERA, 2.77 FIP on top of that strikeout rate we just went over. So clearly, both these guys are great pitching options. If you're playing in cash games today, pair these two together, Crochet and Ryan, and then save salary at offense. But for tournament purposes, we're still both of them viable. I'm going to lean more towards Crochet, who also projects better for us. Not like massively so, but enough to where it makes us like him a little bit more. He's $100 less expensive. Ownership's about the same. We have him 3% better chance of being a top 2 pitching option, 3% better chance of being a top 2 value option. So Crochet over Ryan, it is for me. I still like Ryan, though. Is he somebody you're looking to get off of? Are you trying to build lineups with Crochet and Ryan together? What do you make of Joe Ryan relative to his ownership?
Ryan's still in half my lineups. So Garrett Crochet is still the priority for me, but it's not hard to get to 9,500 Joe Ryan, 9,400 Garrett Crochet. And now we have no Will Smith in the Dodgers lineup. And I bring this up a lot, but it always bears repeating. When you lose some of these top batters, don't overreact. Sometimes it just makes it easier to get to these top pitchers, and you should probably get to more of them from time to time. I find it less necessary for me to try to fit in as much Luis Severino as I was maybe planning on before. I don't think I have to get to as much. Like, I'm going to try some Emerson Hancock there purely because of matchup and ballpark, but I'm not going to play Griffin Canning. I'm not going to play Michael Lorenzen, even though he's pitched well, well above his head in the early going of this season. Ryan Yarborough's unplayable. There's just not a lot of pitching options here. So for me, I think I'm going to just be differentiating quite a bit on offense. And now with that main piece and Will Smith being out there, makes it less necessary for me to be paying up for my favorite stack on the day.
And let's talk about these other pitching options in the high range. It's going to be some combination of like Ryan Yarborough and Gavin Stone pitching innings today for the Dodgers. No thanks. Both of them relatively expensive. Pretty easy to not consider them. What do you make of Aaron Nola, though, who is still picking up some ownership, 17% on the road against Boston. So he's a little bit less expensive than Ryan and Crochet. Still 17% ownership, so it's not like he's completely unowned, but I still really strongly prefer Ryan and Crochet. So I'm not getting to Nola really much for myself personally. But for you, Eric, are you willing to pivot to Nola and get off of some Ryan and Crochet?
Not really. I have 6% Aaron Nola. It's probably going to stay somewhere in the single digits if I had to guess. Maybe I get a little bit more purely because now I don't have to play Luis Severino. I can actually get the $1,000 more there because the Dodgers, I have by far the stack that I'm getting to the most. So price considered there. Not having to pay up for Will Smith is kind of useful if I want to get to some Aaron Nola, but his K rate just pales in comparison to those two. Aaron Nola 4% less than that of Joe Ryan, sitting at 23.1%. He's markedly worse than Garrett Crochet. He's been good, 290x WOBA. I like everything across the board. Another solid season for Aaron Nola. Not surprising. The guy's incredible, but you get Duran, you get Tyler O'Neill, Devers. I suppose it's a decent enough strikeout matchup, getting David Hamilton up there batting second, but at the same time, you get Yoshida back in there. It's a tough spot for sure. I don't love getting to Aaron Nola here. It's a 4.4 implied total with the wind blowing out in Boston. There's a reason that people are light there.
Yeah, it is a no-go on me for Aaron Nola. The next price range is interesting. Tanner Houck at $8,800 has a tough matchup against the Philadelphia Phillies, but is still slightly over 20% owned. Yep. And then you got Luis Severino, who you had just mentioned, Eric, as somebody who you were considering getting to. At $8,000, he's 22% owned against the Miami Marlins. It's been a nice bounce back season for Severino. He's come off numerous injuries. One thing that has stood out the most to me about the difference between Luis Severino post-injury versus pre-injury, swing and misses aren't there. The strikeout rate is well down. He's still found ways to be effective, but he is pitching to a lot more contact. So between Tanner Houck and Luis Severino, I know there's an $800 salary difference between them, but they are the only pitchers that are priced in this 8K range. But Houck, Severino, do you like both of them? Do you like neither of them? Do you prefer one over the other?
Yeah, I prefer Severino. He was the guy that I was kind of defaulting to, but now, once again, the two stacks that are my favorite on the slate today, the Dodgers and the Phillies. So Tanner Houck is a no-go for me at 20%. I'm going to have a little, but I'm definitely going to prefer the Phillies side. Talking about a 4.6 implied total and kind of a chalky-ish pitcher, I'm surprised to see 20.3%. And Tanner Houck's been good, but it just comes down to the hitting weather. We've had pretty poor hitting weather in Boston. It's been like mid-60s a lot of the time. It's up to 80 today with the wind blowing out 12 miles an hour, 15 miles per hour to like towards the Green Monster and a little bit beyond. So I am far more inclined to be batting or firing up offense from both sides of that one than I am trying to get to Aaron Nola and Tanner Houck right around the same ownership. Luis Severino gets the Miami matchup. It's been very, very useful, but the strikeout stuff isn't all that good. It had more to do with, well, if I'm going to be rostering offenses in the other spots, or specifically that Boston spot, and then the Dodgers coming up in the late night hammer, I kind of needed to find something else to punt with a pitcher, and it's kind of just becoming Severino, and we'll talk about Hancock, who I might like a little bit more now, but Severino's been fine. I think he's not like back to his old tricks because the strikeout stuff just isn't remotely the same, sitting right at 19.5%. But I am still going to get to a little bit of him, just not as much as I was before. Not just getting Luis Castillo off the slate, but now with no Will Smith in that lineup.
Yeah. And as far as these pitchers go, if I have to pick one of them, I'm going to, and by the way, we just got an ownership update if you want to refresh that. So it does change these pitchers a little bit, but like not, I mean, we've got Tanner Houck is 19% on now and Severino's 20%. So not anything that's going to change our opinions, but just letting you know that there's been an update there. So Severino would be the option over Houck for me, just because he's $800 cheaper and he is such an easier matchup. It is just infinitely easier to be pitching at home against the Miami Marlins than it is to be pitching at home, but in Boston against the Philadelphia Phillies. So it is Severino over Houck for me if I have to choose one. But here's the good news. I don't feel like I have to. There's a pitcher I like a lot more than these guys for a little bit cheaper that we're going to talk about in a second. You probably know who it is, Eric. But Houck, Severino, I view both of them as being a little bit overowned. Severino because of his lack of strikeout upside this year. Tanner Houck just because the matchup is so difficult against the Phillies and the field is still getting there.
100%.
Let's talk about the cheap pitchers. So of all the pitchers that we have now priced below 8K, it is Emerson Hancock, who you had brought up before. He is now 7% owned. Brennan Pfaadt, he is 28% owned. Michael Lorenzen, he's 2% owned. Roddery Munoz is 7% owned. Luis Medina's 4% owned. Griffin Canning also 4% owned. I love getting to Brennan Pfaadt on this slate, Eric. If you run our sims just unencumbered, you just click the run lineups button, then you click the simulate lineups, which, by the way, if you guys want to sign up for any of the package here at Stochastic, sign up using the links that we have below in the description box. It also does get you access to our Discord channel. You're going to be getting to a lot of Brennan Pfaadt. And I saw before Jordan was showing sims on the screen. Pfaadt was in about half of the lineups that he had run there. I think this is a great spot for him. At home against the Angels, 28% ownership. It's a significant portion, but it's not crazy when you consider it's a 6-game slate. And I just think he's by a mile the best pitcher under 8K.
He's very good. 23.4% K rate, 3.06 expected ERA, much better than his 4.60 ERA. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. I think the Angels are just going to continue to regress. 91 WRC plus now against righties. Remember about 3 weeks ago where they were north of 100 in that department? I do. It was wild. And I just kept staring at the lineup like the time is coming. The time is coming. And yesterday they did show out a little bit, but I still don't care. 91 WRC plus, 23.4% K rate against righties. And I think Brennan Pfaadt's just good. He comes from AAA Reno back in the day. That was kind of the main thing coming into last season is you just didn't know when it was going to turn on. He had a couple of battles, and then come playoff time, boom, it all clicked at the right time. Decent pitching weather when he would be on the road in Arizona there. He just had the stuff. I mean, he throws it 93, 94. It's not like the fastball is something crazy, but I think he's just a really good pitcher. The sinker, decent enough, changeup, decent enough. And then the sweeper, that's kind of the primary pitch that he is leaning on. 1.14 whip as well. He's limiting some of the walks. I like Brennan Pfaadt just as a real life pitcher. And from a DFS perspective, because it's a short slate, because we want to get down and find something down here. Yeah, you run you run the Sims tool unencumbered. You are going to get lots of Brennan Pfaadt, and it's very understandable why.
Yeah, and it's just like, what are the alternatives if you're going to cheap? He's so much better than all these other guys. And then another thing, too, is we've seen the field still really rely on ERA this year and not really look at the underlying stats, which are really strong for him. He's got a 3.06 expected ERA, 3.52 FIP. So, well, he's got the 4.6 ERA. It's almost entirely a result of the fact that he's a 61% strand rate, just been really unlucky with sequencing. So I think Pfaadt's going to be great going forward, and he's got good stuff. He's not going to be like a 30% strikeout rate guy or anything, but, you know, mid 20% range for a guy who's this cheap on a small slate. He's the only pitcher I really like at this kind of price range. Are there any other punt options, or we don't have to say punt, but anybody below 8K that you can make any kind of case for that you're interested in? I know that you had brought up Emerson Hancock before. Is it him or anybody else?
Yeah, it'll be Emerson Hancock here. So we saw him start in the big leagues. It didn't go very well. He definitely needed some time to improve. Went to AAA Tacoma, started figuring some stuff out, but it's still been tough at times. But you go through the AAA data, 21.8% K percentage, markedly better than 15.4% he's had in the big leagues. 4.12 FIP to going along with it. The main thing is that he had a 1.07 whip, only giving up a 193 batting average at AAA right now, much better than what he gave up, 252 to batters at the big league level. And maybe the strikeouts aren't going to just translate immediately here, but when you're talking about a sub 8K option, like if anything happens to Brennan Pfaadt, which I think he'll have a decent enough night here against the Angels, against the Angels, but I am still looking at this White Sox team as one that in Seattle, the best ballpark for pitchers, period, over a 3-year rolling average on Baseball Savant. Hard not to still get there. 77 WRC plus against right-handed pitching. You've got a 23.8% K rate. And the way that they're going to roll out this lineup, the expected lineup here for the White Sox, you're going to have plenty of strikeouts available to you. Paul DeJong, everyday shortstop, batting fifth generally. The guy is a walking strikeout, even with power. Corey Lee, assuming that he's the catcher and not Martin Maldonado, still a 28.6% K rate. If it is Maldonado, yay for you, 35.5% K rate. You got Luis Robert, 40%. I don't expect that to continue, but as we accumulate sample size, I still think he'll be north of 27, 28% come season's end. Really good matchup where if he can run into 4 or 5, I think that's good enough when you're talking about his price point and potential of, maybe having some improvements after going back down to Tacoma.
We got a question in Discord from Einstein. He wants to know, is Roddery Munoz an option as an SP2? On a 6-game slate, like I can tell you anybody is viable. Here is why I do not like Munoz for today, though. He's terrible. And it's not just that he's been terrible at the big league level. I'm so confused how he got called up to the big leagues. And we've seen this a lot recently, where you just get these trash pitchers that aren't even good in the minor leagues, just get thrown into the big leagues, and then they kind of suck in the big leagues and stick around. I don't understand that at all. But Munoz has made 4 starts this year at the big leagues. He has a 5.95 ERA and a 7.3 expected ERA. And then you start thinking like, all right, he's 24 years old. Maybe he's had some success in the minor leagues. Maybe he had some sex. But in the minor, yeah, he's Jordan's plumber. In the minor leagues this year. He made 8 appearances for the Marlins in AAA. 5.49 ERA, 5.84 FIP, and a 17% K rate. In what world did he put up these numbers in the minor leagues and they go, we need this guy on our big league squad? I don't get it at all. It makes no sense to me. And then even if you look at previous years and then you go, all right, what did he do last year in the minor leagues? All right, 2023 with the Nationals, they converted him to a starter. He made 10 starts. He had a 6.98 ERA and a 6.31 FIP in AAA last year. So there's like no positive redeeming qualities about this guy. Like, sure, he throws hard. He's generated some strikeouts at the big leagues. And like I said, it's a small slate. Like, weird shit could end up happening. There's a lot of variance in baseball. It's hard for me to make a logical case other than random variance that he should be good today.
I'm with you. Last night broke him down on Lindy's Leans Likes Locks, and it was pretty laughable. 28.8% ground ball percentage. That is going to be problematic at the big league level. At the AAA level, 34.4% ground ball percentage. Sure, the strikeout stuff is there, but I will say one thing in the defense of GMs is that what does a team like the Marlins have to lose calling a guy like this up? I would say absolutely nothing. And I'd say sometimes, depending on the service time restrictions and everything else that exists, I am all for players just randomly getting called up when they're 24, 25 years old. This guy's 24 years old and 5.91 xFIP. There should be no reason he's at the big league level right now. He's just 41 innings. He has, no strikeout stuff at AAA. And now all of a sudden it's just showing up here at the big league level. Makes absolutely no sense. I think he gets absolutely whacked or just gets pulled out of the game here a little too quick. Now, it's kind of a push-pull situation because the Mets, yes, they went off yesterday. They were the stack you kind of wanted. But I, at the same time, just think you go back to the well because of how bad Munoz is. I looked at all of the Mets team totals, think that even laddering up their team total makes a little bit of sense because this guy is terrible, horrible, no good. And I think he's been lucky so far. A 205 BABIP now in 19 2/3 innings. Munoz is dog shit.
All right, I'm pulling up what is the current team total for the Mets. I'm interested. I just pulled up FanDuel right here. Let's see, it is currently sitting at 4.5 for the Mets. It's pretty reasonable.
I'm betting it.
Pretty reasonable. But yeah, I mean, this Munoz character, I would like to just ask somebody in the Marlins front office, what did you see from this guy in the minor leagues this year and last year, where you're like, oh my God, only a 6 ERA in AAA? That's somebody who needs to be on our big league roster. And I mean, even previous years, it's just all terrible. You go back to him in rookie ball, 2021 in rookie ball, 6.67 ERA, 4.18 FIP. There's just nothing here that I could see that would make me want to roster this guy in any kind of way. Anything else you want to add about the DraftKings pitchers, Eric?
Nope, that's pretty much it. Marlins just need bodies. Eric Johnson, yeah, dog shit. Yeah, no way. He's terrible. I'm letting you know. Munoz is terrible. But yeah, I understand why teams do this. Like if I'm the White Sox, I'm trying to create trade value where there might have otherwise been none. If I can get somebody to just show up out of nowhere and be a flash in the pan, and Munoz, so far, the strikeout stuff, hey, throw it as hard as you possibly can. Try to look cool, and maybe we can intrigue somebody to want to revamp you, and we can turn you into prospects, turn you into something else, because the Marlins are going absolutely nowhere with this roster, with this pitching staff that's been in free fall, without Alcantara there. It is just so tough to watch this baseball team in 2024.
We got a question in Discord from COVID Bryant II, and he wants to know, why no Biggio on DK? He's already played a game with the team. It seems like he should be available. Yeah, I don't have a good answer for you other than they just didn't add him. They just didn't add him to the player pool.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, nothing else I could do about it. But yeah, I'll double check right now to make sure he wasn't added in. But last I checked, he wasn't. Let's see. Biggio. Not in the player pool. Yeah. Just kind of is what it is. He hasn't been added yet on DraftKings. Let's look at the FanDuel pitchers. The FanDuel slate does include the early game, which makes it a little bit different. We've got the Cubs and Rays game there. And most notably, what makes it different over on FanDuel, Eric, is that the most popular pitcher on the slate, it's Taj Bradley, $8,500, projected for 23% ownership over on FanDuel. So he is not an option on DraftKings, but the chalk over on FanDuel, if you're playing one pitcher on FanDuel, Eric, would you go to Taj Bradley? Would you go somewhere else to be a little bit more contrarian?
I would not go to Taj Bradley. I can tell you that much. Taj Bradley's been brutality. I would prefer Justin Steele over Taj Bradley for what it's worth. Looked a lot better. Last 3 starts, 2 earned, across the board. If you look at some of his metrics, I like the increase in his spin rate on pretty much all pitches across the board, especially his primary 2. I think Justin Steele is due for some really, really nice starts here. He was good with them last season. I see no reason that he wouldn't be good here. And he's an advocate of the fantasy community. So definitely a big fan of Justin Steele if you want to get, a little bit freaky over there. But more than likely, if I were playing FanDuel today, I would just be firing up those top 2. There's no reason to be getting 2 off the board over there.
The good thing about Bradley is that you're going to be saving salary at $8,500. It's relatively cheap for FanDuel pitchers, but it's too much ownership for me. I would rather, if you want to get a little bit of leverage on FanDuel, I do think you can play Justin Steele as opposed to Taj Bradley. If the Cubs end up winning the game, you're getting the win bonus out of Steele. Those are points that'll be coming away from Taj Bradley. But Brandon Pfaadt, we just talked about liking him on DraftKings, Eric. At $8,400 on FanDuel, he's 11% owned. So if I'm saving salary on FanDuel, the place I want to go is to Pfaadt. If I'm spending up on FanDuel, give me Crochet, who's only 13% owned.
Yep.
Anything else you want to add about the FanDuel pitchers?
Nope, that's pretty much it.
All right. So Jordan, if you wouldn't mind, pull up the lineup generator. Let's build some lineups for today. But let's start with FanDuel today because the FanDuel slate locks a little bit earlier. It locks in 20 minutes. So let's get FanDuel out of the way first, just so if anybody's playing over there, they got some more information loaded to help them finish up their lineups. And if you guys want to sign up for the lineup generator, our player projections, ownership projections, they're all in here as part of the lineup generator. You get access to our Discord channel, and it's less than $15. Links to sign up below in the description box. But let's go ahead and do balance lineups for FanDuel. Don't lock anybody in. Ooh, Bradley in the first lineup. I'm interested to see what pops up. Okay. Still getting to a lot of Taj Bradley over on FanDuel, which I get it. He's got a lot of upside, saving you some salary, $8,500. Not where I would want to go in tournaments, but I understand why he pops up a little bit. As far as bats are concerned, I'm seeing some Twins at the top, some Diamondbacks, Mookie Betts there's a one-off, some Mets. I'll scroll down, Jordan. I just want to see what pitchers we have outside of Taj Bradley on FanDuel. Yeah, there's Brandon Pfaadt, which that's the direction I would like to go to be contrarian. We're well overweight, nearly 3x the field in the lineup generator on Pfaadt there. A little bit of Justin Steele, not actually paying up all the way to the top pitcher. So it does look like salary is a little bit of an issue in terms of getting up to the 11,000 price tag on Crochet. Go to the stack exposures, Jordan. Yeah, just click on the stack exposures. See what we have there. Yeah. Minnesota, Arizona, the Mets, the Dodgers. So, Eric, just talking FanDuel specific right here. If you're building one lineup on FanDuel in a large field tournament, which team are you looking to stack?
I'm on FanDuel. I'm still looking to stack. Where would I be going here? I don't want to just talk out of my ass, so I'm kind of going through this, going into Sims and taking a look. Just like whistle. Yeah, I whistle after it. Oh, that's not a funny joke. We're not going to get there. Let's go with, I would really like the Phillies-Dodgers combo. I think both of them are pretty fascinating to me here. Oh, I just clicked out of playback. That seems bad. Didn't mean to do that.
Oh, yeah,
sorry, everybody. Just trying to get everything running here for the people.
And the only way to do it is to leave the show.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Mets, we just talked about how terrible they are. Arizona's pretty darn popular against canning. Completely understand it. Gas can. You can't spell can without fucking canning. And then my Minnesota Twins, they get the Bill and Larray Lindquist effect where they're at the game. So, of course, they're going to score 1 billion runs because they scored 17 yesterday when they went. That was their first game in like 3 weeks. I would be going to the Dodgers. Dodgers, Mets, and Phillies. I think those are my 3 favorite for FanDuel. I'm just going through these stacks. My first simmed lineup, if I were just playing one on the top here, is Mets plus Arizona. I think that's good enough.
Yeah, I like the Dodgers quite a bit over on FanDuel, especially if you're going to be saving salary and getting Contrarian or something like Brandon Pfaadt at pitcher, because you got a decent matchup for the Dodgers against Michael Lorenzen, a man who was once tagged by our Eric Lindquist as the best hitting pitcher in all of baseball. I'm sure.
And you know what's so funny is I literally met him on the field at Dodger Stadium the next week. Do you remember that? He was pitching for the Angels.
It was very odd coincidence, but Eric completely forgetting that Shohei Ohtani exists on his show goes, I think Michael Lorenzen's the best hitting pitcher in baseball.
No, I was trying to make a point that he used to play outfield with Cincinnati, and that those were like they were trying to decide how they wanted to utilize him. He was a bullpen arm throwing 100. And then he was also an outfielder who could hit a massive moonshot. Okay, leave me alone. Leave me alone.
Yeah, and Shohei Ohtani won the fucking MVP doing both.
I know.
You can try to justify it if you want. I would like you to just double down and be like, yeah, I think Michael Lorenzen's a better hitter.
I'm not Sean V. I don't need to double down on my terrible take, okay? I'm aware that I was wrong. Leave me alone.
Dodgers. That's my favorite stat, which, by the way, you can roster Shohei Ohtani with the Dodgers. But going up against Michael Lorenzen, it's a good spot for the Dodgers. I think there's 4 teams that really stand out as far as their top stack odds on FanDuel and what show up also when I was running lineups through the Sims. And it's the Twins, the Dodgers, the Mets, the Diamondbacks. But the Dodgers have the least ownership of all those teams. So I lean most towards the Dodgers over on FanDuel. And anything else you notice about the lineups we're getting to here in the lineup generator, Eric? If not, we will build lineups for DraftKings.
Let's build lineups for DraftKings.
All right. DraftKings lineup time. Go to the lineup generator. Again, Jordan, let's do it for the DK side of things. Do an ownership refresh here to make sure nothing changed. Let's go Contrarian lineups. Only a 6-game slate on DK. I'm curious to see what shows up.
Jordan Klein with so much dead air.
Are you going to rejoin playback, by the way?
Oh, I thought I was in. I literally have it. I'm staring at the playback screen as he's doing this right now. So it's ironic.
There he goes. He's back,
Hello.
Fellas. He's back.
I was here. What happened to Zippy? The Zippy long stockings.
So I love to see this. If you look at the lineups that we've built here for DK, Brandon Pfaadt is our most rostered pitcher, followed by Garrett Crochet. Yeah, I like that quite a bit. I'm sure if we scroll down here, there's some Joe Ryan lineups. I think that that's the way you want to go is your 3 most rostered pitchers. I know they're the 3 most popular, but it makes all the sense in the world to me on DK. Even when we built Contrarian lineups, they still showed up as our 3 most rostered pitchers. Let's see what those stack exposures are looking like. Lots of Mets, Twins, Diamondbacks, Dodgers. Once again, the same 4 teams that we'd brought up talking about the DraftKings side of things. Here's a question for you, though, Eric. In single entry, which team stands out the most here? You build in one lineup in a small field single entry lineup. What team would you be stacking?
The Los Angeles Dodgers. I am going to have so many Los Angeles Dodgers, it's not even funny. And then the Phillies are number 2 for me. I'm going to have so many Philadelphia Phillies as well. We have an interesting configuration of a lineup here where we get Nick Castellanos moving up, batting second here today. David Dahl batting 6th. What's hard about the Phillies is that you have 4 outfielders, technically 5 if you want to count Whit Merrifield, who's also second base eligible. So you have to kind of make some type of concessions, but you go over to the Dodgers side of things, and I just want to play them like crazy. I mean, you get some cheapies and Gavin Lux, Austin Barnes now at 2,300 for some of those wraparound stacks, and then a flat 3K Jason Hayward. Pages is now sub 4K batting 5th. I look at the Dodgers as just one of those classic, like you get some of those expensive bats, you have some cheapies to fill in around them. They're a 5-man stack that is showing up in 42% of my lineups right now.
Yeah, and we did just get some news, by the way. It is Corey Seager, scratched from the Rangers lineup. He will not be playing
Jeez.
today, so Rangers look a little bit less enticing without him. And the new lineup just came out, which, let's see. It's going to be too hard for me to figure out on the fly who's in this lineup now that wasn't before. But new Rangers lineup, no Corey Seager.
Jankowski's obviously the new one.
Out of there.
Yeah, Jankowski's batting 7th, DHing. That's the new addition. So Jankowski, everybody else is exactly the same. Everybody moves up. Actually, Smith jumps from the 4-hole to the 2-hole. Let me see if I can do this on the fly. So we had 4-hole to 2-hole there. Nate Lau was in the 5-hole. He's now batting cleanup. Langford, Heim, those are, I think, both moved up 1. So they were 6-7. They're now 5-6. Jankowski slams in there, and then Duran Tavares is the same. I think I did it. There we go.
There we go. I'm just going to take your word for it because I don't remember what the original lineup was and all the hitters in that order. But most importantly, Corey Seager out. We've got the new Rangers lineup there. Our data will be updated for that shortly. In the interim, you guys could see what we're getting as far as our lineup exposures there. And for me, I'm with you, Eric. The team that I'm going to be playing in single entry today, Los Angeles Dodgers. And the one thing that does kind of suck about them, which does tie into the question we got from COVID Bryant before, we are missing one of the hitters in the lineup. We cannot roster Biggio over on DraftKings because he's just not in the player pool. It would be nice if we had him as what I assume would be a cheap salary saving option at the end of the lineup. But still, I like getting to the Dodgers today. The starting pitching isn't so expensive to where it makes the Dodgers difficult to play like on other slates. You could also roster Brandon Pfaadt with one of the pay up options. That gives you a good amount of salary savings at pitcher. So Dodgers, that's a team I really like for single entry. Let's go back to those lineups we had, Jordan. I just want to see who some of the most rostered individual hitters are. And then Eric and I'll talk about the rest of the stacks on the slate after that. But Francisco Lindor, Mark Ventos, Willie Castro, JD Martinez, Royce Lewis, Brandon Nimmo, Pete Alonso, and Luis Torrens. So lineup still very much geared towards the Mets as our most rostered hitters here in the lineup generator. But it's not like we're getting these guys in like 70, 80% of lineups, like some of those Yankee spots or some of those Coors Field games as of late. It's still a little bit spread out at offense, just the Mets looking like the best team overall. Are there any teams that are popular, Eric, that you have an issue with the ownership on? We do have 3 teams north of 10% owned. It's the Diamondbacks at 12.5%, the Twins 13.5%, the Mets 13.5%. Is any of that an issue for you?
The Diamondbacks are a little bit of an issue for me. I just think they're going to be so crazy popular. It is so easy to build out some of those lineups with Arizona right now. And again, this is a little bit different than what I was looking at before the show when I built out my lineup. So I'm going to be rerunning stuff anyway for Corey Seager getting scratched. So that'll be useful. But Arizona, it's just a little bit too much ownership for me there. I think the Mets, I think the Twins against Funky Cole Medina, and then the Dodgers, of course. Everybody there looks pretty appropriate for me. But I just like the Boston Philly side a little bit more. I love the game environment. I think both pitchers are solid, but you give me this kind of weather in Boston, I got to take some chances at being overweight to that, and I can't play everybody. So Arizona, they are getting the axe as a result.
Of these 3 teams, I like the Diamondbacks the least. Not a team I'm going to be fading, but I will be a little bit underweight to the field. So probably something like half of the field's exposure is what I will be at with Arizona. Going to have to re-update everything for Seager and all the other nonsense here because baseball's turning into NBA DFS all of a sudden. Every day we have to get at least one scratch during live before lock. It's not the case in previous years. Anything else you want to say about the lineups we got here in the lineup generator?
We just can't have nice things sometimes, Greg. We just can't have nice things.
No, you can't have lineups that are set in stone for MLB. You can't get main events in the UFC. Everything has to change all at once.
Yeah, I got that official.
Start talking about the other stacks we like on the slate, and we've mostly talked about the popular offenses. But for single entry, I like the Dodgers. You also said you like the Dodgers. Is that going to be your most rostered team in large field tournaments as a stack?
Yes, by far.
Okay. I think I'm on the same page with you. I believe I'm also going to have the Dodgers as my most rostered stack. Are there any contrarian stacks that are important to you for today?
Yep, the White Sox. I just hate myself. It is what it is. And then I also do like taking shots with the Oakland A's. I get that they have been much, much worse, but you start talking about any pitcher that's mega chalk with north of a 10% barrel percentage and has concerning stuff from time to time, like I believe Joe Ryan does. And I have to take shots against you. I just kind of do. I mean, there's no doubt the strikeout stuff is there, but I repeat, against righties, a 199 ISO, 182 expected ISO. This is not what you're looking for in decent enough hitting weather for Minnesota here. Wind's blowing out 80 degrees. We got not really any nominal humidity, but everything's blowing out to the Kirby Puckett gate in right field. And the ball can definitely carry for some of those lefties as well that have the platoon on Joe Ryan. It's not like he's giving up no power to lefties, 165 expected ISO, but especially these righties, man. I like getting to Oakland as a very contrarian piece because Joe Ryan has some warts.
I like the Phillies, and it's not because the matchup is good. Tanner Houck has clearly been absurdly good this season, but you're getting a low-owned Phillies offense on a 6-game slate. It's just hard to find offenses that are good that aren't going to be all that popular on a slate of this size. You got the Phillies are 7% owned. The Rangers are 7% owned. For reference, the White Sox are 7% owned, and the Angels are 6% owned. So the Phillies are in the same ownership range as the Chicago White Sox and the Los Angeles Angels, and Angels have a tough matchup against Garrett Crochet. So that's a team that I think is reasonable to get contrarian with just because you're getting talent as, like the 4th lowest owned offense on the slate. As far as the super low owned teams, the other issue I have with some, like Oakland's still 4% owned, Seattle's still 5% owned. Philly isn't that much more popular than these teams. And sure, like you're getting leverage if you roster the A's or if you roster the Mariners, and I can understand getting to them from that standpoint, Eric. I know that you're a little bit lower, as you mentioned, on Joe Ryan than a lot of other people, but the ownership's kind of there to some extent. They're getting 4% ownership. So it's okay to have a lineup or two with them, but it's hard for me to jam the A's when they're 4% owned because, like, what am I going to do? I'm going to get 10% of them to be double the field. It's more of them than I want. So I think that you can make a case for them, but the actual team I'm going to have a decent chunk of that's contrarian, it's the Philadelphia Phillies.
With you. I love the Phillies today. I think they're a team that I'm double the field on right now as I'm finishing everything up. We just got that projections update for Corey Seager out, waiting for ownership to run. That'll probably be another 5 minutes or so, and we'll be all set to go. I am locked and loaded with Phillies. I think they're a phenomenal stack today.
Anything else you want to talk about as far as offenses are concerned? If not, we could do some home run picks.
So, I mean, it seems as though we've recommended a lot of stacks. Again, I like the White Sox more than I like the Mariners, so that's contrarian enough. I like I guess it's not really because Garrett Crochet, nobody's really stacking up against him. Texas, not going to try to piece against a Dodgers glorified bullpen type situation. We'll get a pretty abbreviated start from Grove. It'll continue on and no real interest in Yarborough or anything there. He's 9K for whatever godforsaken reason on DraftKings, but I am quite positive that my night will hinge on how the Phillies do, how the Mets do, and how the Dodgers do. Those three are very, very important to me. And then Oakland and White Sox, more filler, but definitely spots that I want to take some shots.
All right. I guess since we've got a few minutes left, any active bets that are on the board that you're liking for today? I'm about to pull up Odd Shopper just to check if there's anything that stands out, but there wasn't anything when we were coming into the show.
Yes. I mean, I've been really on top of some of these hitter props lately. I've not to pat myself on the back, but like there's been some real nice value, whether it was Wisely, where I didn't think it was being properly accounted for in the marketplace, that he was somebody to be on. I think there's some just ridiculously bad Mets props. JD Martinez. I know that it hasn't been the best of years, but I know Odd Shopper earlier in the day was obsessed with the over of 1.5 total bases. There are so many plus money, like plus 120, plus 130 total bases for Mets today. I think you could basically play the entire team 1 through 9 and be positive EV by playing every single batter in that lineup. And if you go 3 or 4 of them that go over that total bases prop, which is pretty probable against Munoz, you're looking at a pretty nice day. Some of those back half of the lineup guys sitting with like plus 180, plus 200. Like JD Martinez specifically was the guy that popped on Odd Shopper that got me looking through some of it. So I have 6 1 through 6, I took all the Mets and I took all of their plus money total bases that existed there. I think that you go 50% there, you're going to make some money today.
All right, there we have it. There's a betting angle. Let's talk about home runs now and figure out who we are picking to go yard today, Eric. So I don't think there's anybody that we are going to have to rule out or say is unfair to play as a home run pick. Do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
I will let you go first, my friend. It is your time to shine.
Okay, the world is my oyster.
Love oysters. They're delicious.
Francisco Lindor going up against Roddery Munoz, who we have been talking about as being a no good, terrible starting pitcher for the entirety of the show. To recap the numbers we brought up before, he has a 5.95 ERA, a 7.3 expected ERA, and a 7.88 FIP this season. In the minor leagues this season, he had a 5.49 ERA and a 5.84 FIP, and the ball always gets hit in the air against him. He's a 28.8% ground ball rate, a 32% home run to fly ball rate. Throughout his career in the minors, or especially the last couple of years, he's had really high home run to fly ball rates, and he also gives up a lot of fly balls. So I think the Mets are very live to hit some long balls today. And give me Francisco Lindor. How about yourself, Eric? And then I'll read some off from the chat.
I want to get a little bit different. I want to go to somebody that's been a little bit surprising in the early going. I would say there's some pinch hit risk here as well, so be careful with it. But from a DFS perspective, I'll be cheering for him. He is not somebody that I'm betting. I'm checking the odds for him right now, plus 850. Can we get a little love for David Dahl and the potential resurgence that is? This was one of the best hitters in baseball 3 years ago before he ran into all of these injury troubles. He has an 821 expected slugging through 13 batted ball events so far with around a 12-degree launch angle. The wind's blowing out over the green monster. Maybe an Oppo Taco David Dahl shot. Can I call legitimately how we're going to do this? I think it'll be a slider that hangs out over the plate from Tanner Houck. David Dahl right off the bat. I'll even call the inning. Second inning, David Dahl going yaya.
All right. By the way, shout out to you, Eric. Chris Williams in the YouTube chat left a super chat, just says off topic, but thanks, Eric, for the show last night. Says he's doing 25 lineups, and currently all but 3 of them are cashing at the moment. So he says a great show last night, guys. And then he reminds everybody, hit the like button. Yes, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We do appreciate it. Home run picks from the chat. Einsteinium's got Mitch Garver. Michael Roundtree is going with Jazz Chisholm. Francisco Rubio, he's on our team with the Mets, going with Mark Ventos. Charles Kelly's got Teoscar Hernandez and Corbin Carroll. Ken Ratty's going with Larnach. We've got Doug Dobbs is going with Mookie Betts. And then Sean V is going with Kyle Schwarber to homer. He says if it's going to be somebody from the Phillies. Junior Whopper's got Luis Robert. Sotek's also going with Jazz Chisholm. Greg Kell going with Luis Rengifo. Interesting. Hadn't heard Rengifo. I can guarantee he's never been brought up as a home run pick ever before in the chat before. So definitely going out a little bit different there. Jordan is going a little bit different with Shohei Ohtani today. Chad Rock has got Freddie Freeman. Skittles also has got Francisco Lindor. Ryan Stubbs has got Royce Lewis. David Porter has got Bryce Harper. Malukar going with 2 homers today. JD Martinez and Mookie Betts. 3 homers being picked by Zach Gaskins. He's got Adolis Garcia, Rafael Devers, and Pete Alonso. Anthony Harris going with Mookie Betts. Father Time has got Logan O'Hoppe. So lots of different home run calls from the chat. Guys, thank you very much for watching. If you have not done it, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We got NBA back tomorrow. There's going to be NBA strategy show, MLB strategy show, MLB live before lock, NBA live before lock, and then, of course, the playback show tomorrow night. Could be the final NBA slate of the season. So check all that out tomorrow. And if you guys are looking to play PGA Showdown, we still do have our Pinehurst promo going on until the end of the tournament. So don't forget, if you have any win of $100 or more and you're an active Stochastic sub for PGA, tweet it at us because you'll be entered into a raffle to win a free month of the PGA Sims. And if you want to sign up for that week package of the Pinehurst promo, link is down below in the YouTube description box. Less than $15 for a PGA Sims. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Have a great night. We'll see you back here tomorrow.